Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming. I would like to start today's design review board for September 20th. Will the board and the ex officio members please introduce themselves, starting with Jared?
Jared Worsham, Downtown Resident Representative.
Laura Cole, Downtown Resident Representative.
Matthew DeBard-Laban, Downtown Knoxville Alliance.
Suzanne Taravella, Neighborhood Representative.
Joshua Wright, Downtown Design Representative.
Crockett, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Kevin Latour, Business Development Representative.
John Thurman, Downtown Development Representative.
Dallas D. Armand, Knoxville, Knox County Planning.
Christina Margon-Stillery, City of Knoxville Law Department.
Peter Aronson, Director of Plans Review and Building Inspections.
Thank you for that. The minutes for August 16th have been distributed. Has everyone had a chance to read them? And are there any questions or modifications to them?
I move to approve.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Do we have staff approvals, Lindsay?
Yes. So there was one staff approval since the last meeting. This is a subdivision plat on Gap Road. A parcel that measured approximately 260 feet wide was subdivided into 4 lots that are 70, 65, 65, and 60 feet wide, fronting Gap Road. This is just the plat. New construction will be submitted to the board at a later date.
All right, thank you. Is that everything? Okay. So we'll need to make a motion and get a second for postponing the first one, 9A23IH.
Was there a reason why?
The applicant has requested postponement.
Oh, okay. Sure. I make a motion to postpone.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. I guess we can move on to the next one. That would be 9B23IH.
Lindsay, can you pull that closer? I'm not picking you up on the
Can you
microphone.
hear it when I'm in here? Can you hear it when I'm this close? Can I? Does this help? Is this going to be weird? Can you hear it in the microphone?
Yeah, let's switch.
It's a true crime podcast moment.
We'll share. What about this? Is this one better? Okay. Thanks, Dallas. So this is a new primary structure at 318 East Oldham Avenue. As you can see on the site plan here, let me jump forward. This is a 2-story residence with a front gable roof with a 10/12 pitch. There's a shed roof massing extending the full length of the facade with an engaged front gable that's located above the door. The roof siding and window materials are unspecified. The house is 40 feet long by 16 feet wide. So it's actually 20 feet wide, including this recessed shed roof massing that's somewhat towards the rear of the property. The house is proposed to be set 21 feet from the front property line, and the parking is located at the rear, accessible from the alley, featuring an 18 feet wide concrete drive. So as you can see on the facade, there's that full-length shed roof porch, recessed shed roof massing. The side elevations, there's one window on the second story here, and then 2 transom windows on the first story on the right side elevation. So some of the staff findings: the front porch is proposed to be set 21 feet from the front property line. The average front setback of the block is 18.8 feet. So the new house will maintain a consistent front yard space with the block. The block that will receive the new construction, it's characterized by shotgun houses, which are the narrow 1-story houses. That's a historic form. The Queen Anne cottages and modified craftsman bungalows. This house is relatively narrow in proportion to the lot, but it does reflect that smaller width of the 5. There are 5 shotgun houses on the street, so there is context for that. The side yard setbacks are consistent with the block. The parking meets the infill housing design guidelines located to the rear of the house and access from the alley. Final site plan revisions may be necessary to meet city engineering standards. The house is narrow in width. The facade is narrow in width, but it's compatible with houses on the block. The additional height from a second story is not disproportionate to the context, and as depicted, the foundation height is compatible with the neighborhood. This house has a 6-foot deep front porch. It should be increased to at least 8 foot to meet the design guidelines. However, it is proportional to the house. The 8x8 columns and this horizontal header and the engaged gable all add to the porch design. If the front porch is constructed on an open foundation as depicted, the lattice or another siding method should be included to avoid that open deck look. Guidelines recommend that windows and doors be similar, with similar proportions and ratio of solid and void to the historic houses on the block. At least one window should be added to the left side elevation to reduce this large swath of siding with no transparency. And then these frontmost windows should be double hung windows instead of transoms. The application does not include information on the siding or roofing materials. If the vinyl siding is used, it should feature an overlap instead of the Dutch lap or flush panel siding. And the CMU foundation should be clad in stucco or brick. And it does indicate stucco here on the foundation. So staff's recommending approval of 9B 23IH subject to the following conditions. The final site plan should meet city engineering standards. The front porch should be increased to 8 feet in depth. An additional window should be added to the left side elevation, and the right side windows should be revised in size. And then the final construction should retain all of the details shown on this drawing.
Thank you for that review, Lindsay. Is the applicant here and would they like to speak?
They are not present.
Okay, they're not present. Well, is there any discussion among the board?
My only question is if we don't have a floor plan, whether or not that transom window can be a double hung.
I can pull up the floor plan.
You have that.
Those transom windows, I believe, are the living room and the dining room.
Oh. Okay.
Does it seem odd to anybody else that the front porch extends past the walls of the exterior of the building? I've never seen that.
I agree.
That would be my only other comment. I think they've tried really hard to make a very nice house. Otherwise,
Show me what you're talking about, Josh. With the
if you'll show the elevation.
There's eaves that go past the beam on the front. Yeah, right there.
oh, mm-hmm.
Do you think I'm being too picky? Or
That was just weird. I mean, you would want to do that if there was enclosed space, but since it's a porch, I think it makes sense to bring those in. Yeah.
Rendering as well.
see how it like pops out? I mean, I guess I'd make that a recommendation rather than a requirement. Any further discussion?
I think it's a generally pretty nice house. Seems to fit with all the, the guidelines, and so I think I like your comments here. And related specifically, my opinion of your porch question is like, I don't see that a lot, but if that's their preference, I don't know that it's a total deal breaker for the neighborhood. So.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a consideration, hopefully, when they come back to Lindsay with new updated plans. So I'd make a motion to approve per staff recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. Okay, now we have, we're down to the Downtown Design Review section, 9A23DT.
Okay, so these are two new facelit channel letter signs. They measure approximately 7 feet 11 inches wide by 3 feet 8 inches tall. So that's approximately 29 square feet. One sign is proposed to be mounted on the exterior building at the 16th floor on this knee wall. And then an identical sign will be mounted on the 19th floor on the west elevation. The lettering is internally illuminated and it will appear red in color. So illuminated signs require review by the Design Review Board. That's from the code. These proposed signs are larger than the 9 square feet recommended for the grid district. Those district's guidelines are focused on pedestrian-friendly signage on buildings smaller in size than a non-historic tall building like the one seen here. These proposed signs are proportionate to the knee walls on which they'll be placed, and the internal illumination is limited to the individual letters. So staff is recommending approval of 9A23DT as submitted.
Thank you. Is the applicant here and would they like to speak?
Yes, I'm here. Amy Shelby with Sycamore Sign and Crane. Lindsay did a great job describing everything that we're proposing. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you for that. Does the board have any questions?
I guess I don't, but do they have, I don't have any problems with this sign. I'm just thinking of signs in general. Can they put multiple, like it's smaller than the 9 square feet, but there's obviously a larger sign at the top of the building. We approve that, I guess. So.
Yes, correct. That sign, well, that was a face change from the BB&T to Truist.
Right.
I don't know that, I think that one was one that didn't require a permit. So I think that might have been an administrative approval.
I see.
But the board has approved very large signs in a similar zoning district when the First Tennessee, that rooftop sign changed to a First Horizon sign. And so
I remember that.
Precedent
Yeah.
for y'all's approval of these
Mhm.
larger sized on the non-historic tall buildings.
And I guess it's just, the board's approval. If, they wanted to put a bunch of different signs on those balconies, they could. There's no limits to numbers of sign. It's really sort of board.
There is a square footage limit in the sign code that's based on the primary elevation.
Okay.
Right. Obviously the wall area of the primary elevation
Right.
of the building. So obviously they could put quite a few signs based
Okay.
on this wall area.
It's not just the one sign at that square footage. It's signage. I see. Okay.
Collective. Am I correct, Peter?
You are correct.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. So now we have 430 South Gay Street. New windows and new entry door for 9B23DT.
Okay, so this is an exterior rehab project. It's focused on the ground floor of the facade and the south elevation. So the scope of work includes the removal of some existing fixed storefront windows and the installation of new operable double hung windows in the existing fenestrations. You can see that work on the facade here. And you can see an image here with the building on which we're working and the windows that will be changed. The existing entry will also be reconfigured. So currently there are paired full light doors, and so those and a transom above will be removed and a new full height door will be installed. The side lights will be reduced in width and engaged pilasters that flank that centrally located door will be installed. The door will also be taller than currently. The scope of work also includes the replacement of the existing patio railing, which is outside of the purview of the DRB. So this building is a contributing resource to the Gay Street Commercial Historic District. So the Historic Resources section of the guidelines applies. Guidelines for historic buildings recommend replicating original windows design, operation, and glass size. This proposal does retain that overall relationship of solids to voids and the transparency patterns as those existing window openings will be used, but the proposed change to double hung windows does not replicate original storefront windows, which are typically fixed single light panes. So that aspect does not meet the design guidelines. It's worth noting that these windows here are not original to the building. They were installed in approximately 2013. However, this was part of a historic rehabilitation tax credit project with the National Park Service. So to receive that tax credit, they do draw on historic evidence and photos to recreate that original design. So the Design Review Board in 2013 did approve these single pane windows based on historic photos. The replacement of the paired double doors with a single full light door and the wider pilasters doesn't negatively affect the overall transparency pattern of the ground floor. And then signage, which is shown, these are detailed photographs and the overalls are in your application packet, and I can pull those up. But signage should be submitted to the design review board as a separate packet. So staff's recommending approval of 9B23DT, omitting the proposed replacement of the storefront windows with double hung windows. The storefront windows should remain in the same design, operation, and glass size as existing.
Thank you for that review, Lindsay. Is the applicant here? Would they like to speak? Please give us your name and address.
Hi, my name is Keith Schutz. I'm the architect. I live in Atlanta, Georgia, Candler Park Drive. One thing that is not clear in here is that the transom on the front door has actually already been removed. That runs across the front. So we're not proposing to remove that. That's already not existing. Just to clarify.
Thank you. That was going to be one of my questions.
What is the purpose of the double hung windows on the second floor? Are they needed for egress for like a sleeping room?
No, it's more to open up the restaurant. They have very little outdoor seating in front. There may be 2 tables, and they want to bring the outside in for customers. And you did point out that all those windows were rebuilt in 2013, so they are new in construction.
And it looks like you're trying to mimic the patterning from the original windows with the new double hung windows. And the idea is that those will lower from the top.
Well,
Looks
there
like from the
are
arrow.
double hung windows on the building now in the residential part above that were part of the restoration. I don't think we don't have any old pictures of this building before this renovation, but I don't think they had pieces of glass that were that big and 100 years ago or more.
It was an Arby's before. And all of that beautiful glass was covered up. And then they took it down and you could see all
we
the...
love that. We're definitely keeping that. It looks great on the inside. And you said the railing is not part of the review, or?
Correct. You'll need to, it depends on the railing and the boundaries, but that's something that you'll work with the city of Knoxville to achieve, and I can provide you contact information after the meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. So in the renderings, it's showing some lighting across the top of that. Is that something that we're looking at as well?
Is that existing or is that proposed? The gooseneck lighting.
Go back to that's where all the little glass blocks are across the front. Is that the question?
So that is part of this review as well.
Okay.
So, and those will attach to the green fascia there. Gooseneck lighting.
Oh, the new lighting?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you said siding. Yes, that would be for, future signage or just lighting the building from the outside. That sign there would be removed from the old restaurant.
I'm looking at the straight on view. Are you able to get a double hung window that is that wide? That's operable and.
Yes, it'd have to be a wood clad window. They can make them that big.
Okay.
And the operation of it is pretty simple for one person to open and close. So there'd be insect screens involved per health code.
Are these intended to open from the top down or from the bottom up?
Bottom up.
Bottom up.
The top pane would be fixed.
Yeah, because I'm kind of torn because I love the idea of being able to open up the restaurant to the street and get that energy out onto the street. But we have the historic guidelines that we are beholden to.
So let me say I'm here representing Perry Childress from the Design Center. He's on vacation right now in Spain. But he told me, so I'm just going to spew what he told me he thinks about this. So this is from Perry's mouth. He said that he also likes the idea of the windows being able to open, but because of the guidelines, he would prefer if it was looked into to see if instead of being divided horizontally, they could be divided vertically. And you could just slide the window, kind of in front of it that way. Would be something he would consider and would prefer over the horizontal nature of these. Every other aspect of it, he said that he was fine with.
Does anyone have any other comments? Lindsay, what was the reasoning about not allowing it to be operable again?
Well, so it's not so much it is actually. So the design guidelines that are relevant here for historic resources are 4B, replace windows if repairs are not possible with matching windows, including duplicating design, operation, material, glass size, muntin arrangements, profiles, and trim. And then 4C says insert windows with the same pane configuration, materials, and size as other buildings of the same general construction date if no original windows are present.
And this is a contributing structure?
Correct.
I think it's important if it's a contributing structure to the district and on a prominent corner that the window pattern remains historically consistent and undivided.
Yeah, I wish we had some historic photos showing what it was before.
We don't have those on file in our agency. I do know there are some. Because this project was a tax credit project. So when the beautiful RVs was removed, the developer that did the rehab project had to reconstruct the storefront based on historic photographs. We don't have them on file right now, but we do exist.
I'm trying to find a little more detail on the window. On the lights. I see them now in the elevation. The materials of the lights, I guess, are like a metal. Do they have a color or?
They would be black in color, pre-finished color. And honestly, that was not part of this submittal. We didn't describe those lights.
Okay. So that's fine. And that just means that element can be, because that wasn't addressed in the staff report either, because you didn't break that down on the application. So that aspect of it can be submitted along with the signage in another application. The sign contractor could even do that.
Great.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion? I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve based on staff comments.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second.
And the basically this, just to make sure I'm reading it right, is to not approve the operable windows, which are really the primary part of the project application, right?
So the operable windows on the front and sides, and then in this instance, it includes the door replacement and the basically all of the scope of work associated with the front entry. So there's pilasters there as well. So the approval is basically based on the front entry and the pilasters, and not to the double hung windows.
Got it. Okay.
Is there a way to this is me speaking on behalf of Perry. Is there a way to get windows single pane that large and attach them so they could somehow slide up or hinge or something? Because I just frequenting downtown, I do love the idea of restaurants being able to open up onto the street. I think it's lovely, and I would hate for us to miss an opportunity to help a restaurant like that. So I didn't know in y'all's expertise if that was something that could be recommended or looked into.
I think the complicating factor is the screens that are required for the health department.
I don't want any windows open.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's okay. Dust getting on food.
Sound,
AC.
noise.
Oh, but it's very noisy. The hood, the hood's basically a vacuum. I don't know why you would open up windows to a restaurant. I think it's a bad idea. I know it's a bad idea. So.
Well, I don't think it's the concern from the board's perspective is not whether or not they're operable or not. I don't think, but rather that they. Thank you, Joe.
Disclaimer.
But rather that they match the existing thing. So if they come back with a solution that matches the historical patterning, I think we can look at that again along with the lights and the signage. So we have a motion.
And it would go a long way if you could dig up some photos too. It would help your case. Old photos.
Yes.
And I can connect you with those.
So we have a motion from Suzanne, and we have a second from Joey. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. I'm not opposed, sorry. Thank you. Motion passes.
I'll follow up with you tomorrow and we can talk
Great.
about next
All right.
steps.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and with that, we'll close the meeting. Thank you very much.